I'm going to take a second to talk to you about underdogs.
Everywhere. This is for you.
Fly Eagles flying on the team. Touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a bird gang nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man saw Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randall. Season here, early time to do them in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.
What is going on, you guys? Let me know if y'all can hear me good. Let me know if everybody can actually hear me. Because I think that it's kind of important to hear me right now. You're listening to a Super Bowl fan. You're listening to a Super Bowl fan. The Philadelphia Eagles are a couple days away from the Super Bowl. The second in my lifetime. I was throughout my life. I was like, I just want to see one. I just want to see my Eagles win one Super Bowl. We are now in the driver's seat to see our team win two and go against two of the greatest quarterbacks of our generation. So I'm excited. I hope you're excited. Today we do have Fran Duffy on the show, so I'm excited about that. But listen, it's your boy Joe Castro, a.k.a. Philly Fresco, and it is Philly the podcast, man. We are back with another one. I am so excited for this season, man. I'm so excited for the culmination of this season. We've been waiting so long for this to happen, for this moment to happen, and we're finally here. So I know you guys are excited. I know I'm excited. We're going to talk about it. Listen, I want to start with it's kind of a weird place to start. I'm going to be 100% honest. This whole week, shout out to my girl. My girl brought it up and she was like, I wish we just played this week and just got it over with. We did a Pro Bowl watch party. The Pro Bowl was cool. The flag, football, that was cool and everything. It just isn't something that I really necessarily want to see anymore. I'm ready for this Super Bowl. I'm just ready for this game to happen. I know that there's a lot of storylines behind it, right? You look at the Kelsey Bowl, you look at Andy Reid, Nick Sirianni got fired from Kansas City. I mean, the list goes on and on, right? There's a lot of people with a lot of connections with this team. So it's going to be impressive or interesting to see how the Eagles respond to this. We've went through a full season now where the Eagles had to continuously prove who they were. The Eagles had to continuously answer questions, whether it's fair or not. The Eagles had to continuously kind of show up and show out. And the Eagles did. We did. We have done everything that we were supposed to do. And now we are where we're supposed to be because we did everything we're supposed to do. So I'm excited. We're going to see what happens. But shout out to everybody in the chat, man. I see everybody already in the chat. If you're watching on... Oh, I got to make sure I'm in the camera. But if you are on Twitter, if you're on Twitch, if you're on Facebook, whatever it may be, wherever you may be, definitely head on over to the YouTube chat, man. Come over here and talk, man. I love the YouTube chat. They always come with that fire. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to everybody. Be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe. Jorge, what's going on, brother? What's going on? He said that his son is 2 and gets to see the Eagles in the Super Bowl already. That's a lucky kid right there. There's some grown adults that are Cowboys fans that have yet to be able to say that. You know what I'm saying? And look, I'm going to also say this, all right? That whole worry about the Chiefs, we don't play. Nobody in this chat, as far as I know, is going to play. Nobody in this chat, as far as I know, is going to coach. Worry about whoever you want to worry about. We could talk junk about the Cowboys. We could talk junk about whatever team we want to that is not the Kansas City Chiefs, because you know what? We are better than all those teams. So I want to squash that right now. We're going to talk our talk, man. We're going to talk our talk. You're loud and clear. Good. Castro, what's good? What's going on, Spot City? It's been a minute. What's going on? Drew Johnson, what's going on? Yo, big need for a time machine right now. No need for a time machine right now. I love where I'm at. Excuse me. I love where I'm at. I love where the Eagles are. Yeah, I'm losing my voice already. It's not even Sunday. We are literally a couple days away. This time next week, I could be coming on here talking that talk as a Super Bowl champion. Some people are hanging banners because they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Some people are hanging banners because they finally made the playoffs after a couple years. We're not. We're going this weekend to try and hang a banner that will last for a lifetime. You feel me? That's how I'm feeling right now. The Eagles can make history. The Eagles can make history. They can rewrite history. I have enough life in me, and God willing, I have enough life in me to see my Eagles catch up to the Cowboys, and I cannot wait when we get this second one, and then when that third one comes, then when that fourth one comes. And yeah, that's how I'm feeling right now. I feel like the future of this Philadelphia Eagles team is as bright as they let the light shine. As long as Howie Roseman doesn't out of nowhere go back to his old ways, as long as Nick Sirianni or Jonathan Gannon don't take a massive step back, as long as Jalen Hurts doesn't take a massive step back, why wouldn't we be excited about the future about this team? Win or lose this weekend, I'm excited about what this team is going to become. I think that this is not going to be the last time that we're talking about this Eagles team in February. So I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm elated. I am elated. Excuse me. I don't know what's wrong with my throat now. Pause. I don't know what's going on. We're better than the Chiefs too. I think that we are just as good, and I've said this before. There's 4 things that can happen. All right, there's one thing that can happen is that we go out there and blow them out. And if we go out there and blow them out, this is the best team in Philadelphia Eagles history and possibly one of the most dominant playoff runs that we've seen in a long time. And I've said that before, and I'll say it again. There's another thing that can happen, right? You can go out there and have a really good game, barely win, and I'm still feeling very, very good about this team. You can go out there, barely lose. I'm still feeling pretty good about this team. If we go out there and get, demolished and it just looked like we didn't belong out there, then we're going to have a conversation. We're definitely going to have a conversation, but I don't think that that's going to happen. So I'm not really putting my money there. I think that this is at the very worst going to be a very, very good game. I think that the Eagles are going to win this game, and I think it's going to be a great game. And I think that we deserve this from top to bottom. I think that Howie Roseman deserves this, and I think that Brent Kern, who I don't believe is going to be punting in the Super Bowl, I believe we do have Aaron Sippis back, deserves this. Every single player on this roster, Britton Covey, everybody that's struggled throughout this year, they deserve it just as much as a Jalen Hurts, as a Hassan Reddick. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. We have been a championship roster, not just a couple championship players. We are a championship roster from top to bottom. I truly do feel like that. He said, my guy bringing that heat. Eagle Slayer, what's going on? I'm hyped, man. I am hyped. I am so excited. If you are a channel member, you got to see this interview already, me and Fran Duffy talking. And look, we're both excited. He said it. I even put it on the Instagram because I just love that little 4-second clip of him saying the Eagles are in the Super Bowl. Life is great. You know what I'm saying? You can't complain right now. You can't complain as an Eagles fan. What's going on, Daniel? Denny, what's going on? What's going on? Jalen's getting his... Excuse me. I'm dying over here for y'all. That's love right there. I'm dying over here for y'all. Dank Burrito said Jalen's getting his bag. I would never guess in a million years Jalen will get us to the Super Bowl so soon. I was very, very skeptical. I don't even want to say skeptical. I was very critical of what Jalen Hurts put out last year. There is not an ounce of me that has any doubt that he will continue to grow. I don't think that he's hit his ceiling. I don't think that this is as good as he'll get. All that he worked so hard in the offseason, all that, not to keep on bringing up, points from this interview because I do want you to watch it. But Fran said something that was perfect. He said potential really means nothing if you don't go out there and work and go out there and show it. So, hey, Jalen Hurts has put on a show. I think that he has shut up a lot of realistic critics. Obviously, there's a lot of people out there that are still going to talk that talk and hate on him no matter what. But if you really come at me and talk about how Jalen Hurts isn't this, isn't that, there's no way I can have a real football conversation with you. I just can't. I just can't. It's the truth. That's where I'm at right now. But he is going to get that bag. He is going to get that money. And I'm honored for him to be our quarterback. I really am. I've always said that he's had that leadership. He's always been that kind of guy that you want representing you, but the play is now matching it. So yeah, hey, I got nothing bad to say about that man. Big D, what's going on, brother? What's going on? What's going on, True Savage? What's popping? Yeah, for sure. I meant to fast forward time to Sunday. Can't wait. Man, I wish we could, DG. Yeah, I wish we could. No, I definitely get you. I wish we could. I'm ready. Obviously, we're not playing. We're not coaching. We're not going to be out on that field. You know what I'm saying? But I know Eagles fans are ready. I saw, a tweet not too long ago. I don't know how accurate it is, but it seems like Eagles fans are going to be out there in drones. It looks like a lot of the ticket sales have been going towards Pennsylvania in that area. So look, man, I'm ready. I am so ready. I've never been more ready. And you look at, and me and Fran talk about this a lot, and you look at 2017 and you look at this year, there's a lot of similarities, a lot of differences. I feel like this year we deserve it. In 2017, it felt good, and it was like, this feels like a really good team. And once you had all those injuries, it was like, we're going to fight, and we're just going to try and make it happen either way. And then when you get it, you're like, wow, this feels amazing. This year, it's like, we deserve this. We've fought so much. We've went through so much this whole season. So many doubters. You can even go back to last season. So many doubters, me included. So many people had this team pegged as possibly, if we win a playoff game, that's a huge success for this Eagles team. We're the number 1 seed, 14 wins under our quarterback, 16 if you want to add the, off season. Look, there's no way I can't be ecstatic about this year. And we deserve to talk this talk. As fans, we deserve to talk this talk. If we blow them out, this one of the greatest teams ever. I agree, Dank. I agree. It's really tough to look at this team and not think that. I mean, you look at the domination that we've had from the word go. I mean, week 1, we came out here. We went out there in the first half, played a hell of a game. And then in the second half, we kind of fell off in the second half. We kind of slowed down, let that team come back in. We come out week 2, we blow up a team that people think are going to be very good. They made the playoffs, right? Number 2 seed, if I'm not mistaken, or number 3 seed, if I'm not mistaken. So, look, I mean, we've beaten teams. I know that the notion of that the Eagles haven't beaten anybody, but what about your schedule? All that's going to keep on coming up, and that's cool. But when we win this Super Bowl, all that gets silenced. All that gets silenced. All of that. I would love for someone to tell me what last year's Super Bowl winners' record against winning teams was. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. You care about winning, and the Eagles have put themselves in that position. So that's all that matters. Eagle Slayer says Hurts deserves this more than anybody. That man worked his ass off to where he is today. Facts. I mean, look, I won't say more than anybody. I'm going to be 100% honest. I think that he deserves it just as much as everybody else. A.J. Brown went out there and put up one of his best career stats. Right? You look at defensively, Hassan Reddick has had a career year. And I do think that Jalen Hurts has worked his tail off, but I don't think that it's more than anybody. I think that this whole team is just different. We're built different. This whole team went out there and put everything they have. You look at James Bradbury. James Bradbury was poo-pooed. James Bradbury was cut, by a Giants team, right? You look at Hassan Reddick. A lot of people didn't think that it was possible for him to continue to do what he was doing on all these teams, right? He's able to go out there and put out a career year. A.J. Brown, a lot of speculation around him and what type of wide receiver he is. He's able to go out there. Devontae Smith, quickly forgotten when an A.J. Brown comes to Philadelphia. He goes out there and puts a career year, record-breaking year out there. I mean, you go from the top to Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders was a guy that a lot of us didn't know if he was going to be back next year or if he deserved to be back next year. A lot of questions around him. I give Jalen Hurts every ounce of credit that he deserves, but the rest of this team has put just as much, and that's what's special. That's what's special to me is that the rest of this team has put in just as much work as Jalen Hurts. This whole team wants this Super Bowl. And it feels good. It feels good. You know what I mean? Cuzzy the Great, what's going on? What's going on? Lonely B says the Eagles started the season with the best roster. The Eagles entered the playoffs as the healthiest team with all 22 starters. As Eagles fans, we should be hype and confident. Yeah, and look, man, I'm not going to keep on bringing up what Fran saying. I was about to quote him again. I love Fran. Shout out to Fran Duffy, man. If you are watching this, Fran, you are the GOAT. You are the GOAT. We appreciate what you do, man. But look, man, it just... in 2017, it felt really good, right? It felt really good. It felt like a beautiful story. The way that it was written, and I mean, the way that it played out, excuse me. I'm not going Arian Foster on you guys, I promise. But the way that it played out, the Eagles, it was just a dream season. And I hate to use that because they did fight and they did beat the GOAT, man. They beat Tom Brady in his best playoff game. I mean, statistically, that was his best playoff game, scratch just the Super Bowl. That was his best. But you look at this team this year, and it's like, we deserve this. We are the best team. We are healthy. We are going to go out there with possibly 22 of 22, 24 of 24, if you want to count, Aaron Sippis and now and Jake Elliott, or reverse that, Jake Elliott, and now Aaron Sippis coming back. This is as healthy as we have ever been. And you look on the other side, you look at Patrick Mahomes, he's not 100%. I don't wish, any type of injury on anybody. McCall Hardman's not looking 100%. And look, again, I don't wish injury on anybody. We had Steph Brown on here. He trains McCall Hardman. He trains, Quez Watkins as well. So I'm not wishing anybody harm on anybody. But when you look at it written down on paper, the Eagles have a lot of advantages here. And I think that the Eagles should go out there and win. Will they? I don't know. It's not a given. It's not this is a good team, man. And I'm not going to sit here and talk junk about the Chiefs because they are well coached. They have one of the best quarterbacks in this league, if not the best. You have a very capable wide receiving core. I know a lot of people say lack of weapons with Mahomes. Still was able to put up 5,000. Still has Travis Kelce. Juju's not. And, far from a slouch. You got some young guys. I'm not sure what's going on with Kadarius Toney, but he's somebody that can be electric, especially when it comes to special teams and stuff like that. So this is not going to be, this ain't the Giants, right? This ain't the Giants we playing. This ain't San Fran we're playing. And yes, these are intended shots. These aren't none of those teams we're playing. This is a team that is the number one seed, can literally put up the same exact type of game that we can. We look at the numbers. Same exact amount of points when you include the playoffs. Same amount of rush yards per play when you include the playoffs. I mean, turnovers in the playoffs. I think that the Eagles have 4 and the Kansas City Chiefs have 4. We are playing ourselves. And I said this before the playoffs, that I felt like the only team that could realistically beat the Eagles was the Eagles. We're playing the Eagles right now, and that's no knock to the Chiefs. Like they have their own identity, but they're able to play good defense, complementary defense. They're obviously not as shut down as our defense, in my opinion, right? But they are able to get those turnovers. They are able to make opposing quarterbacks make mistakes, right? And then the offense is able to make that complementary football where they're able to hold on to the ball for long periods of time, where they're able to make those drives. So this is one of the closest games that we probably have seen all year. And what better time than the Super Bowl? So I know that was kind of a long-winded answer, but Smitty says, I can't wait to see the finale. Me either. Shout out to everybody on the YouTube side, man. We got 30 people in the YouTube chat. Be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe. If you're watching anywhere else, be sure to hit that like wherever you are, share it with your friends, or come on over to the YouTube side. You know what I'm saying? Join the conversation. For anybody wondering, the Fran Duffy interview that I'm going to be playing is not a live interview right now, but it is live for members. We also have a Dwayne Bowe interview, former Chiefs wide receiver, that is only for members. So if you guys want to become a member, it is only $1 right now. And we're going to start doing a lot more towards the memberships. We're going to do a lot of draft talk with the memberships. I have something worked out that we're going to be able to get a lot of good prospects on here. So you're going to be able to find that all on the membership. So definitely go on over and join the membership. And shout out to everybody that is already a member, man. Shout out to Dank Burrito. Drew Johnson, I believe, is a member. We got a couple people that are in here and are members. So I appreciate you guys. Hardman was put on IR. So, yeah, he's not going to be playing. Eagles win Sunday and easily become the best NFC team this century. Most playoff wins by 2 games. Will be tied for most Super Bowl wins in NFC with Giants and Tampa. Rams also, if you count 1999 season. Are they the best? I think they're the most complete. I'm trying to think of another team that was this complete. Like, you could look at most, if not all. I mean, maybe the Rams, but I don't think their defense was as good as ours is. I don't know if the Rams defense when they won was as good as ours. That's a good. I think we might be one of the most dominant teams. I mean, realistically, from start to finish, especially if we're able to go out there and just handle the Kansas City Chiefs, which I'm not saying will happen. This is going to be a good game. This is going to be a good game. You know what I'm saying? Anybody that thinks this is not going to be a good game is going to be in for a rude awakening. Unfortunately, this is not going to be an easy game. We're going to go out there and it's going to be a dogfight. But shout out to everybody in the chat, man. We got 30 people in here. Be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe. Think I got through all the chats. Duffy, what's going on? He says, bro, did you see Chris Sims do a whole 22-minute video hating on Jalen Hurts due to lame clout chaser? I did not see that. Hit me up. Do you have Twitter? If you have Twitter, please hit me up on Twitter and let me watch that. Please send it to me. I'll do a video. I'll give you a shout out and everything. I need to see that video. I don't know why people hate us so much. I mean, I do, but it's like, you know, look, I mean, it's football at the end of the year. Your team's not always going to be there. It just came out today. Oh, I need that. Duffy, send that to me on CBS on YouTube. All right, I'm going to check it out after this. But yo, shout out to my guy, man. Shout out to my guy, Fran Duffy, our guy. Everybody loves Fran Duffy. Y'all know I like to get him on here and just kind of get his take on everything. So we were able to talk about this Super Bowl, and we're going to play the interview now. Please do be sure to stick around. I'll hop into the chat, and we'll talk, man. If you guys got any questions, let me know. Other than that, let's get into this interview. Shout out to my guy, Fran Duffy, and yeah, let's get into it. What's going on, you guys? It's your boy, Joe Castro, a.k.a. Philly Fresco, and it is another episode of Philly the podcast, and I brought along a friend, no longer just a guest. You know, you come on as much as you have, Fran. You're family now, right? So how's it going, Fran Duffy? How you been, man?
Joe, it's going great, man. As you said before we went live, the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, so life is good, right?
Definitely. Yeah, I can say it a million times. If it sounds good when I hear it, sounds good when I say it, the Eagles are in the Super Bowl. But before we get into anything too specific, team specific or game specific, you look back at the 2017 year, and a lot of people look at that team and you talk about resilience, you talk about just a family atmosphere. What are you going to remember, you know, win or lose, what are you going to remember this Philadelphia Eagles team as?
Well, I think it was a team that was dominant from start to finish. And when you look at the way that this team jumped out the gate and, you know, what was it? It was a 10-0 start, whatever it was to start the year, and some really convincing wins. You even go starting back in week 2 against Minnesota. Then you get that legendary performance, all the sacks against Carson Wentz in Washington. And you just saw all the different ways that this team would eventually be dominant. Really just kind of carried over. It was like you saw the run game week 1. That was Jalen Hurts in the pass game week 2. A.J. Brown goes off against the Lions. But then it's Devontae Smith against Washington week 3. All the turnovers early on, just all of those themes that carry throughout the majority of the season really just were present. And it was like they were just tag teaming in and out week after week after week. And then after it was 7, 8, 9 weeks, you're sitting here like, damn, this team's pretty good. And they find a lot of different ways to win. And I think that's been one of the big things that will stick with me watching this 2022 team. And no matter if they win or lose on Sunday, certainly one of the best teams in Eagles history.
Definitely. And they've kept you busy because, you know, week in and week out, like you said, you dive into this film, you're watching what this team does, and it does feel like every week you're pointing something out differently. But one thing that I will say you've consistently been bringing up is how disruptive this defensive front has been. Just kind of looking at the totality of the season, you look at the playoffs, how have they been able to just consistently get after that quarterback, and how can they kind of keep that trend hopefully going come Sunday?
You know, I think the big thing is that it's not even is it just the defensive front getting after it. There have been games certainly where, you know, the defensive line took off and they dominated the game. But, you know, even going back, and I remember a lot of the discussion after that week 3 win against Washington was like 10 sacks in that game, whatever it was, 9 sacks, 8 sacks against Carson Wentz. It was like, yeah, like the defensive line did a great job, but look at the coverage on the back end. Look at the pass offs and zone coverage between, James Bradbury and Kaiser White, or Avonte Maddox and CJ Gardner-Johnson, or Darius Slay and TJ Edwards, right? The communication on the back end really, really always stood out over the course of the season. And, yes, give a huge amount of credit to Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat and Javon Hargrave and the entire group up front being able to finish for sacks, because that is a big part of it, not just getting home for pressures, but allowing to, finish that play and get home for a sack. That's supremely important. But you guys on the back seven as well doing their job throughout the course of the season, because going back and watching the sacks for a lot of teams over the course of the year, because that'll be one of the things I'll do is when the Eagles are preparing to take on an opponent is, all right, how do they create a lot of their big plays? How do they create a lot of their sacks, a lot of their turnovers? And you go back and you watch and you're like, man, like a lot of this was created purely because the front was just really, really good. I remember thinking that watching San Francisco, even watching all of their interceptions from the season, it was like, man, like a lot of these were created because of that front four and what they were able to do from a pressure standpoint. With the Eagles, it was a lot closer to like a 50-50 split, where it was like, man, like, yeah, a lot of plays by the front where you win clean and get home, but there were so many where the quarterback has to double clutch and climb the pocket, or he's moved off his spot. And some of it was because of initial pressure from somebody else, but a lot of it had to do with the coverage on the back end. And so I think that especially with this team and the way that they play, we know it's not a blitz happy team. We know it's not a stunt happy team. They're going to rely on to get home, and sometimes that group is going to win fast and get home to the quarterback and impact Patrick Mahomes. But I think maybe more importantly for this game, you're going to need that back seven to do what it's done for the majority of this year and hold up their end of the bargain in coverage, get that quarterback off of his first read, force him to hold on to the football, and let that rush get home.
Yeah, and look, I said this prior to the playoffs, and maybe it was a little bit of my Eagles bias kicking in, but I felt like looking at the guys that were in the NFC side, the only way I thought the Eagles would lose is if they beat themselves. And if you look at this game, and you look at the numbers especially, it feels like you're playing yourself almost. This defense is playing an offense just as electric as ours. What do you think is going to be the main focal point for this defense? How do they go out there and try to, in essence, kind of beat themselves? Do you think being able to go against this offense and practice is going to help at all? Or is Patrick Mahomes in this offense just a totally different beast? How do we attack this Kansas City offense?
Well, I think the big thing, look, you understand, you're going to go into this game, you're not going to pitch a shutout. It's very unlikely that you are going to completely shut down this Chiefs offense with a healthy Patrick Mahomes, a healthy Travis Kelce. So I think that at the end of the day, if you're the Eagles, you have to try and limit them as often as possible, and that means possession matters. And I do think it's going to take a complete team effort here in this game. You need the offense to hold up their end of the bargain. You need the defense to hold up their end of the bargain. So I think ultimately it comes down to every possession counting, every third down, every red zone trip. The Chiefs are excellent in pretty much every category offensively. About this over on the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast, myself and Ben Fennell. There's not one thing where you look at all the numbers of the Chiefs and you say, oh yeah, this is one area where the Eagles can take advantage, or this is one area where they're not really good in situational football. No, pretty much by every split, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are really, really good on offense. And so to me, it's about those individual plays. If they are 88% in the red zone, I'm making that number up. If they are 88%, well, you need to capitalize on that 12%, right? You need to be able to capitalize. You need to win on the margins in this game. And so, much like the Eagles did in Super Bowl 52, Tom Brady, that offense, they were operating like a machine in that game. They did basically what in that game. But all it takes is that one play and a key opportune moment where Brandon Graham and Derek Barnett, they combined for that sack fumble of Brady. And that is what, that's the turnover you need to get you the field goal that you need that now makes the game out of reach. Like that, you're going to need those kinds of moments here in this game. It might not be late in the fourth quarter. It might be late second quarter, they're trying to drive, and now instead of them getting a field goal or them getting a touchdown going into the locker room, well, now it's 0 points, and that's a drive wiped off the board from the Chiefs, right? It's those kinds of plays that I think this defense is going to need to find a way to make. They've been so opportunistic all season, been one of the best turnover NFL. We know about the pressure and the sacks. Being able to capitalize on those big plays against the Chiefs, that's going to be very, very important in this game.
Yeah, easier said than done. Like you said,
Yes.
this is gonna be definitely a test. Patrick Mahomes is no slouch. He's gonna go out there and do everything. And like you said, a lot of people are gonna focus on the Hassan Reddick, the Josh Sweat. There's a lot of dogs on this defensive side unit. You still got a Brandon Graham, who obviously, like you said, made that huge play in the last Super Bowl. Is there anybody on this defense that you think is kind of getting overlooked or maybe not being talked about enough for this Philadelphia Eagles team?
I think in terms of you love the matchup of Hassan Reddick going up against anybody, and again in the playoffs we talked about it against the Giants and Tristan and Evan Neal. We talked about it against the 49ers and Mike McGlinchey, and we're going to talk about it here for Sunday's game going up against Andrew Wiley. That's a big matchup this game, and something that you think, okay, that's in the Eagles' favor. I think also the Josh Sweat versus Orlando Brown matchup is another one that swings in the Eagles' favor. I do like that one here. I think Milton Williams has been playing great ball down the stretch. I shouldn't even say down the stretch. Honestly, it's been the majority of the season. We'll say like the second 2/3 of the year, right? So I think when you look at the way that Milton has played, he's making plays early games, coming off the bench along this defensive front on the interior. And I just would say, don't forget about the matchup of Josh Sweat going up against Orlando Brown.
Yeah, I think we all did his, Patton and Sweat when we saw that he was going to be healthy for the playoffs. Yeah. We all just collectively, we dodged a bullet there. Now, to switch a little bit to the offense, obviously, everybody's got their eyes on Jalen Hurts. And I mean, rightfully so. He's had an amazing year, obviously, in the Super Bowl. And it's, not because of him, I should say, right? And Jeffrey Lurie even kind of came out and said there's not much for him to prove as far as a long-term option. I want to know what you feel. How lucky do you think that the Philadelphia Eagles fans and the franchise are to have not only the talent of a Jalen Hurts, but a person like Jalen Hurts? I don't think we've seen many people walk in this building with the type of leadership that he has. How lucky do you think Eagles are to have found kind of a diamond in the rough, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, certainly that's what every team is, right? Is that quarterback that can be the face of the franchise. And I don't think that was ever a question with Jalen Hurts, was the intangibles and the character and everything that he brings. That was something that was always, everyone you talk to was like, yeah, like A++++++ with Jalen Hurts. And that, honestly, I remember talking about this on draft night when the Eagles drafted him in 2020 from my basement, because that was the COVID draft. I remember getting in my ear, the pick is going to be Jalen Hurts. We're going live in 30 seconds. And I'm like, oh, all right, here we go. This is what we're talking about now. And the big thing is that when you have a player with immense traits, and we talk about this all the time on the journey, if a guy has got outstanding traits, regardless of position, it's not just, you could talk about upside all you want, but if you don't have the character and the intangibles to put in the work to reach that upside, then an upside is worthless, right? That's a big quote, and I'm sure Jalen has probably said it in a press conference. I know that I think like Jason at some point is potential means nothing. Like you could say that all you want, but at the end of the day, like if you just have potential and you don't reach it, that potential doesn't mean anything. And I think when you have guys that have that off-field character, that have the they were team captains and always put in the work and all of those things, now you have a lot of faith that this guy's going to reach his ceiling, whatever that ceiling is. He's going to reach it, and that's what certainly stands out about Jalen Hurts. This is a guy that just keeps getting better at every stage of the process. Every hill you put in front of him, he's going to work to climb out of it. I remember him as a freshman playing at Alabama, leading them to a national championship, and thinking, all right, exactly what this guy's pros prospects are going to be. You watch him as a sophomore, you see him get benched, in the national title game. You see him come back and everything that he did as a backup that junior season. Then he goes to Oklahoma, and the jump he made as a passer from that season to the Oklahoma year, under Lincoln Riley. I watched him live at the Senior Bowl. I thought, oh, he's having a solid week here. Seeing him 3 weeks later in Indianapolis and watching him live and talking about it on the podcast that night, myself and C-Mac and Chris McPherson, and saying, yeah, like Jalen Hurts, he looks like he's throwing the ball a little sharper just from 3 weeks ago. Like he looked really good out there on the turf today. And then a rookie, move on to 2021 and make a jump. And then from 2021 to this spring and summer and then into the fall, make that jump. And it's like, man, like this is a guy that consistently gets better and better and better. Just gives you a lot of faith for what his future can be. Again, this is a guy that's only in year 3, in the NFL, and year 2 in this offense, just for Sunday, but for the future here with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I think Jalen's hard work just embodies the city. And I think you look at his coach, and I think that's another person that embodies the city. And I want to ask you, because you are, you're one of the best, if not the best, with the X's and O's. Like, you dive into it. And from me and my subscribers, we thank you for your work,
Thank you,
because
bro. Thank you.
you make all of us intelligible. We all know a little bit more every time we leave one of your film sessions. But people are telling me that my head coach came along for the ride. I want to know your opinion, and how impressive has it been seeing the schemes and seeing how this staff puts its players in position to win. How imperative has this coaching staff been to the success of this Philadelphia Eagles team?
It's been huge, because you look all across the depth chart on both sides of the football, and you see that guys playing the best ball of their career, whether they're a young player, guys that are new to the scheme, or guys that are here in year 2 under this staff consistently. And it's not just head coach Nick Sirianni. It's not just the coordinator, Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon. It's the position coaches as well. You give all of those guys a ton of credit with the way that this team has played this year. And it's been so much fun, Joe, over the course of this season, being able to do film breakdowns with members of the coaching staff on a weekly basis. Whether it's been, Nick Rallis, the linebackers coach, or Jannard Wilson, the DB coach, or Jeff Statlin along the offensive line, or Jamal Singleton at running back, Brian Johnson at quarterback, and really just kind of picking their brains on the guys at their position. And you really get a sense of the energy to the job every single day, the connection that they have with their players, and then also just getting them to talk football and getting a sense you can really see how they are able to put these players in position to succeed on a weekly basis. Hey, what does this player do well? All right, we're going to ask him to do these things really, really well. We're going to massage their weaknesses and try and improve time. We're going to really put you in a position to do what you do best.
Yeah, and wearing those cutoff sleeve T-shirts from our personnel, like the yelling, I love it all. I absolutely love it all. And we've had a lot of people on the show, and I was talking to I work with Michael Vick as well, and I was talking to Dante Hall and Dwayne Bowe, and they're hating on us. They're telling us that we're going to lose, but one thing they consistently say is that you guys have energy. It's just a different type of feel, family type of feel. And we talked about what you looked at this team, comparatively to that 2017. And I want to kind of go back to that again, because a lot of people, when they bring up this team, it has that 2017 vibe. You got AJ Brown doing his swag, it gives you that Alshon Jeffrey vibe. You can go down the list of guys, and it's just like so much memories, right? But I'm not going to do that. What makes this team different, in your opinion? Because it is a more dominant team. Is there a certain player, a certain staff member? Like, what makes this team so much different from that 2017 team, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that there are a lot of things that are similar, right? And certainly the way that the swagger, like you said, that this team carries. I think that they've had it from the jump, and this team or that team 17, it built and built and built, and it culminated in the NFC title game. We saw that pre-game, right? Reliving that memory against the Minnesota Vikings, but that's certainly poured through into Super Bowl 52. I would say the big difference, just kind of like thinking about it, it's an interesting question. I mean, this team is just healthier. That was one of the big things, is that that 2017 team, they got into the postseason. You're missing your starting quarterback, your starting left tackle, your starting middle linebacker, one of your backs. You go down the list, and it's like key player after key player after key player. This one's going into the Super Bowl with all 22 of their starters fully healthy, and for the majority of the time, they've had these guys for most of the season, right? Avonte Maddox had a couple bouts on injury reserve. Dallas Goedert missed some time. C.J. Gardner-Johnson. But outside of that, most of these guys have been in the lineup for most of the year. So an incredible run of injury luck for the Eagles. And you hope that continues for just one more week. But at the end of the day, I would say that was probably one of the big things, is that, when you look at the health of this team, and again, this was a dominant team from week 1 through week 17 in the regular, that showed that week 18 in the regular season, showed that ability to be one of the best teams in football, certainly the best team in the NFC.
Yeah, and it's weird, because it's like every week, not weird, it's a blessing. It's an amazing feeling, but it feels like every week you went out there feeling like you should win. This was a great team, like you said, and they just had that swagger from the beginning. And it's hard to say, because a lot of people ask me, when did you kind of realize this team was a Super Bowl, contender? And I'm going to take the easy route, and I'm going to ask you. I'm going to kind of throw that at you. When was the moment that you looked at this team and was like, wow, this might be it? This might be a team that can actually make a good run come postseason.
You know, it's funny. I turned to one of our coworkers with Eagles Entertainment. It was week 2, Monday Night Football. It was against the Minnesota Vikings, because the Vikings were billed as, they had a new coaching staff, but it was a good team. And certainly what they did to Green Bay the week before. And, Green Bay had a little bit of a down year this year, but even just understanding like, hey, like, this is an offense with 2 explosive playmakers, the best wide receiver in football, a defense that can wreak havoc. Young in the secondary, but up front they had some playmakers. And to see what the Eagles did, not only dismantling that team, both offensively and defensively, but also seeing the fact that Jalen Hurts and his running ability in that game, it was his ability to drop back and pick them apart in their zone defense and say, hey, you know what? You're not gonna pressure me. You're gonna drop back and play zone. Okay, I'll show you what we've got. We're gonna go to AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, and we're gonna use the running backs. We're gonna get Quez Watkins that deep ball touchdown. Being able to just drop back, I kind of turned to one of my coworkers and I was like, this game kind of felt like, to me, it was a primetime game, and it was a little bit later in the season, but that Carolina Panthers win in the 17 year, where it was a Thursday night football game, but it was still prime time in front of everybody, in front of national TV. And it was like, yeah, like this team could be really, really good. Knowing like, look at all the different ways they can win. We know that they can run the football. You knew that coming into the year, and that was again confirmed in week 1 against Detroit. But in week 2 to say like, hey, this is what Jalen Hurts can do. This is how much he's gotten better. I was like looking around. You're like, all right, you look at the talent, along with the skill positions. You look at that pass rush. You look at the offensive line that we know is one of the best in football. We know that pass, the way that he can throw, the way that he threw in this game, it's going to be a really, really dangerous team if they're healthy.
Yeah, and we are healthy. We are all together. So I got 2 more questions for you, Fred, and I'll let you get out of here. You talk about the future, and I know you are a 24/7 football guy. I know right when the season starts, it's 100% draft talk. You give us content all year. How bright is the future? I mean, you look at the combination of the draft picks, the cap space, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like we have a pretty strong class coming into this draft, and especially at the places we need. How, confident are you in the future for this Philadelphia Eagles team, kind of bringing all that in?
Oh, it's tough. It's tough to not be excited. Obviously, look, there are a bunch of guys that are set to hit free agency it's a few weeks now, which is crazy. But it's set to hit the free agent market here in the offseason. And that's something that the Eagles are going to have to make some decisions there, right? You can't bring everybody back. So this will be a new look team. I think when you look at some of the draft capital they've got, this is a team that's going to the Super Bowl, and they have a top 10 pick. And that's why I've been urging listeners on the podcast and fans, is like, yeah, like, certainly you're all in on this season and this game, but make sure you're subscribed to the Journey to the Draft podcast to know who these top names are in the draft, because the Eagles have a top 10 going into this draft, and with whatever pick that they've got on the back end as well, hopefully number 31. But I think when you look at the Eagles going into this offseason, there's a lot to be excited about to build off of this success here in 2022.
Definitely. And I gotta ask you, Fran. I wouldn't, I would get pummeled if I didn't ask you this. What are you thinking for this game? Is it? I'm assuming you're gonna say it's an Eagles win. Are you thinking it's gonna be a close game? What are your thoughts for this Sunday Super Bowl's game?
I do think Eagles win. I think, but when you look at this, I mean, look, it's tough to feel super confident when you're going up against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. It's been one of the most dynamic offenses in the last 4 or 5 years since Mahomes has taken over as the starter there in Kansas City. And that's going to be a very difficult test, just like it was a very difficult test in 2017 going up against Brady and Belichick. So I think when you look at it, there are definitely pathways to this game going either way. And I go back and forth on, do I think that this is going to be a smash mouth style attack them on the ground early and kind of soften it up and then open things up for the pass? Or do they go the opposite and say, hey, we're going to throw early and try and run to win in the second half? A lot of that will depend on what you're able to do defensively to stop Mahomes. And you might look at that kind of hand in hand. It's all right, well, if we come out early and we're going to focus on running the ball until that's going to limit the amount of possessions that Patrick Mahomes has. And if we're keeping him to 7-8 possessions instead of 11 or 12 possessions, well, now we're just kind of saying, all right, well, now if we stop him twice, now we're in good shape, right? And so I think at the end of the day, I go back and forth. I do think it's an Eagles win, but it's going to be a fun game. I think there's a lot best Super Bowls in recent memory.
Definitely. Yeah, I've said this before, man. I don't care if they score 1,000 points as long as we score 1,001. I just want to come out of here with a win. I don't care how it looks, man. We earned this. We deserve to be here. But no, Fran, I know that you are going to be killing this draft season. I'm so excited for it. I'm definitely going to be talking to you about it, and hopefully we'll be talking about a 31st pick, like you said. We'll be talking about Super Bowl champions. But let them know anything coming up for the podcast, anything you got going on before we do get out of here.
Yeah, so we just dropped an Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast just today, Tuesday, on the feed. So as well, we did our typical game preview. I caught up with former NFL offensive lineman Jeff Schwartz, just because Jeff, his younger brother Mitch, was a Chiefs right tackle for a long time, so he follows this Chiefs team very closely. Jeff is also very friendly with a number of players on the Eagles offensive line and studies line play across the NFL. So I thought that this matchup, Chiefs O-line, Eagles D-line, it's a big one that's going to impact the outcome of this game. So we really dove into the trenches with that discussion, and also caught up with a Chiefs All-22 analyst, Nick Jacobs, out in Kansas City. I posed him the question, all right, this team inside and out. How do you game plan against Patrick Mahomes? How do you game plan against Steve Spagnuolo? So we had that whole discussion there on that podcast. We've got another episode dropping later this week as well. And then we've got a journey to the draft as well. We're already, like I said, have our sights set on this spring's draft and who the top players are, and Senior Bowl, Combine just a couple weeks away. So talking through all of that on both of those podcasts, wherever you get your podcast.
Fran, take a break, man. Take. You need it. Once we win this Super Bowl, I need you. Nice little vacation. You work too darn hard, man. We appreciate you so much, Fran. We really do.
I appreciate it, man. We'll get some sleep in May.
There we go. There we go. That's what we got to do. But Fran Duffy, as always, man, it's always great to have you on the show. I appreciate everybody that's tuned in. Be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe. But other than that, you guys know what it is, man. It is Fly Eagles Fly, and we are out of here. Peace.
Everywhere, this is for you.
Fly Eagles fly on the team. Touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a bird gang nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man soft. Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randolph. Season head, early time to do him in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.